Hello there and welcome. This is Mikhail or Michael speaking. As always, I salute to those who decided to support me financially. Thank you friends and have a good day. I will start today's video with the situation in so-called Vremivka tactical bridgehead, where interesting things have happened. First of all, if you remember, initially at the start of this attack, Russians lost the settlement of Neskuchne. It is now being reported that as a result of a counter-attack, Russians were able to recapture the settlement and maintain control of it as of right now. Then it is being reported that as a result of Ukrainian attack that was happening here across this small river, Russians withdrew and lost control over Novodonetsk. But very recent reports suggest that Russians counter-attack Ukrainians all across this front and were able to regain control of the settlement. It is unclear whether Ukrainian troops have retreated from this bridgehead, but if the settlement of Novodonetsk have fallen, and I trust sources that reported on this, then those positions of Ukrainian troops will be compromised. And with this, we sure can expect Ukrainians retreating back to their older positions. It is also interesting to note that the battle for Novodonetsk has saw some of the Western-built tanks. Reports suggest that there were some IMX-10s, which is not really a tank, and there were reports of some Leopard 2s. This indicates that Ukrainians have developed a lot of force here, and the fact that their brigades were armed with Western equipment could be indication that this is the front where their main counter-offensive could be. The overall situation in Vremivka tactical bridgehead is as follows. With occasional counterattacks, Russians are mostly on the defense. Ukrainians are unsuccessfully trying to penetrate Russian lines all across this front line. But it would seem that as soon as Ukrainians capture some territories, Russians counterattack and gain those territories back. Exactly that happened with Neskuchne and Novodonetsk. Then we should move to Kherson Oblast. Here, as you can see, is settlement of Novokakhovka, and this is where this dam is located. That dam recently was neither destroyed or damaged to a point where it just gave in, and as a result of that, the mass of water rushed down and submerged a big sector of the territory. Here, as you can see on the map, it's hard to say whether that was Ukrainians and Russians, as this situation in a way benefits both. Ukrainians of course blame Russians for that, as Russians blame Ukrainians. Some sources say that as a result of previous shellings, the dam just had enough and gave in. For example, the destruction of this dam had completely flooded all the islands located on the river. As you remember, those islands were held by Ukrainians, and this could benefit Russians. Also, this flooded a lot of Russian-held territories, destroying their positions, ammo depots, and flooding bases. So this also is not very convenient for the Russians and benefits Ukrainians. So as you can see, both sides can benefit from it. About 80 settlements were flooded as a result of this catastrophe, and thousands of people were displaced of their homes. So this is catastrophe no matter whether it was made by the Russians or by the Ukrainians. Also, on an interesting note, now that all this massive water had flown down and flooded this area, this whole river is now much thinner, which would help Ukrainian troops if they would want to launch an amphibious assault. So this is one way how Ukrainians can benefit from the explosion of their dam. The river become thinner, and there are more land now, but this soil must first dry, and that will take about 2 to 3 weeks. So we might expect some amphibious action here in this sector. Then let's move to the situation in Bakhmut or Artyomovsk. Officially, the city has not been renamed as of right now. At first, we will talk about situation in between Ivanivsky and Klishevka. Simultaneously with attack in the Zaporozhye region, Ukrainians launched their attacks here in attempt to push Russians back and capture Klishevka. All those attacks were stopped. Overall situation here did not change. Also, Ukrainians started attacking here in the outskirts of Bakhmut in attempt to gain control over some of the buildings on the edge of the city. Unsuccessful. Also, the city of Bakhmut is being heavily shelled by the Ukrainian forces. So again, situation here is very dynamic. Then we have interesting situation that happened in Berhivka. It has been reported that as a result of a successful Ukrainian attack, Ukrainian troops were able to enter the settlement of Berhivka And some sources have said that the settlement has been lost, but it would seem to be not true, as Ukrainians were only able to reach the outskirts of the settlement and were pretty quickly driven back. It is unclear how exactly they reached Berkiivka, as Russian positions here weren't penetrated. Some suspect that Ukrainians, using small tactical group, were able to walk along the reservoir hidden in this small forest patch and attack Berkiivka, but this attack was unsuccessful. We know this because overall Ukrainians tried to attack all across this front, but again those attacks were unsuccessful. I also have a video of a Ukrainian aviation bombing this sector in Bakhmut. So you could see there was the bomb. Russians also had intensified their artillery shellings of Ivanivsky and Chasiv Yar, and I have several videos of a result of those shellings. This indicates that there is a lot of back and forth, that both Russians and Ukrainians are attacking and counter-attacking here in this sector, and also shelling all the settlements in the rear. But it would seem that Russians have an upper hand in artillery. With this, I end today's video. I try to keep it short. I hope it is to your liking. If it is, please consider supporting this video with a like, comment, and a subscription. Also, don't forget to ring that notification bell. Also, please consider joining my Patreon. This would move me forward towards my goal of working on YouTube full-time and give me more financial stability. Thank you in advance. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.